I never thought for a second. There was a man, some guy named Jack, who apparently had something to do with my wife. My Karen, who, up until now, I'd never had a reason to doubt. But why? What was this guy's angle? And how long had I been in the dark? I grabbed my jacket, casually told my assistant I had an emergency to handle, and drove straight home. The Karen was hiding something. I needed to figure out when, where, and how. But most importantly, I needed her to slip up before I made any move. The key to any good game is patience, and this was a game now. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was quiet. Karen wasn't home yet. Her car was still missing from the garage. I had time. I walked inside, threw my keys on the counter, and did something I hadn't done in years. I checked her computer. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, let me be clear. I wasn't snooping like some paranoid husband. This was strategy. I needed evidence, something concrete, something undeniable. Nothing on her emails, at least nothing that stood out. No weird contacts, no suspicious messages. But her calendar? That was a different story. Every Thursday for the past 3 months, she'd been busy. Meetings, errands, doctor's appointments, things I never questioned. She'd always seemed organized. It wasn't strange for her to have appointments blocked out like that. But looking at it now, there was a pattern. Always Thursday, always a 3-hour window. I could feel the adrenaline starting to surge. But again, no rash moves. I wasn't going to blow this by jumping to conclusions. I grabbed my phone, dialed Karen, and put on my best nonchalant voice. "Hey, what time are you getting home?" She sounded casual. Too casual. "I'm just finishing up with Linda. Then I'll be home in an hour or so." "Why? Everything okay?" Linda. Another name I hadn't heard in a while. Linda used to be a regular in our lives. A neighbor from down the street who Karen would occasionally grab lunch with. But we hadn't seen her in months. Something wasn't adding up, but I played it cool. "Yeah. Just wondering if we were still on for dinner." "Oh, sure," she said, that familiar warmth in her voice. "Can't wait. I'll see you soon." I hung up, my heart pounding. Every lie she told felt like a jigsaw piece sliding into place. I checked her location-sharing app, something we'd set up years ago for safety reasons. I hadn't used it in forever, but today it was my ace in the hole. Sure enough, she wasn't anywhere near Linda. She wasn't even in the same part of town. Karen was across the city, in some unfamiliar neighborhood. I smiled, not because I was happy, God, no, but because I was onto something. And when I'm onto something, I don't let go. This was just the beginning. That night, dinner was ordinary, unbearably so. Karen walked through the door exactly an hour after our call, looking fresh and energized, like she'd just spent the day pampering herself. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong, and asked if I wanted to order takeout. I agreed, keeping my face neutral. I wanted to see if she'd show any sign, any twitch, any slip-up, that might reveal the truth behind her perfect act. But no, she played her role effortlessly. I watched her carefully as we ate, the light conversation flowing just like it always did. You'd never think that minutes earlier, I tracked her to a part of the city she had no business being in. The game was still on. The next morning, I made my move. I had a friend, John, who was a private investigator, one of those guys who could find a needle in a haystack without making a sound. I'd helped him out of a tight financial situation years ago, so when I called him up and asked for a favor, he didn't hesitate. "John, I need you to follow Karen for a while. Don't ask questions yet. I just need to know where she's going on Thursdays." John was professional enough to pick up on the seriousness in my voice, and by the end of the day, he was in. "I'll start next week," he said. "You'll know everything by Friday." The wait felt endless, but I distracted myself by throwing everything into work. Meanwhile, Karen's behavior stayed the same, perfectly composed. Thursday rolled around faster than I expected, and I knew John would be shadowing her all day. That morning, I kissed her goodbye like always, smiled like nothing was wrong, and waited. Hours passed. My mind kept drifting back to John, wondering if he'd found anything. Then, in the afternoon, a text buzzed on my phone. It was him. "Meet me at the park near your house. 6 p.m. We need to talk." I didn't even bother responding. I knew this couldn't be good, but I still needed to see whatever he had. So, after pretending like I had a last-minute meeting, I left the office early and drove straight to the park. John was there, leaning against his car, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. "Tell me," I said, skipping any small talk. John didn't waste time. "She's seeing someone," he said flatly. "I followed her this morning. She didn't go anywhere near where she told you she'd be. Instead, she drove straight to a hotel on the other side of town. She met a guy in the parking lot. I've got photos." I swallowed hard, even though I was prepared for it. But hearing it out loud was different. It hit me in a way I hadn't expected. John handed me his phone, and there they were. Karen, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world, walking towards a man I'd never seen before. The guy looked younger than me, taller, athletic build, dressed casually. He held the door open for her, and she disappeared inside the hotel with him. I stood there for a minute, staring at the photos. The silence between John and me was heavy. Everything I'd suspected was right in front of me, undeniable. And yet, I wasn't ready to blow up. Not yet. The anger was there, simmering, but I wasn't the type to explode on a whim. "So, what do you want to do?" John asked carefully. I pocketed my phone. The images burned into my brain. "Keep following her. I need more. If I confront her now, she'll just lie. I want to know everything. What he's doing, what she's thinking, how long this has been going on. I want to see where this leads." John nodded, his face unreadable. "I'll keep digging. You'll have a full report by the end of next week." We said our goodbyes and I drove home, mind racing. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I had a plan forming in my head. This wasn't going to be a simple confrontation. No way. Karen had crossed a line, but I wasn't going to tip my hand until I knew everything. She'd been playing me for God knows how long, and if she thought she was going to walk away from this unscathed, she was dead wrong. That night, when Karen walked in, it was like nothing had changed. She looked relaxed, humming to herself while she cooked dinner. I watched her move around the kitchen, every gesture now feeling rehearsed. Every word she spoke like a line in a script. Sickened me how well she wore the mask. I wondered how many times she'd come home after being with him. How many lies she'd told straight to my face without even flinching. "Long day?" she asked, setting a plate in front of me, smiling like the perfect wife. I forced a smile back. "Yeah, just the usual." My voice was steady, but inside I was boiling. For the next few days, I played the same role. Cool, collected, pretending like I didn't know what she was up to. But the truth was, every minute I spent in the same room with her, I was quietly planning my next move. Then came Friday. John called, his voice tense. "I've got everything. You're going to want to see this." I didn't waste time. We met again, and this time, the envelope he handed me was thick. Too thick. "Here's what you asked for," he said, handing it over. "It's not just some random fling. This has been going on for months, maybe even longer." I took the envelope, feeling the weight of it. Inside were photos, logs, and notes from John. Karen hadn't just been sneaking off for casual hotel meetings. This was something deeper. They had a routine, an entire world behind my back that I knew nothing about. They had dinner dates, trips outside the city, weekends with friends that she'd spent with him instead. The final gut punch? There was no Jack. No Brav. Karen had invented these names to cover her tracks, and I had swallowed it whole. But the biggest revelation came last. John handed me a last piece of paper, his face dark. "You might want to sit down for this part." I unfolded the paper and read the contents slowly, my heart dropping as I absorbed the information. The man she was with, he wasn't just some random guy. He was someone connected to me. A former client I'd worked with years ago. A man who had failed in business, lost a huge deal to me, and apparently had now found a way to win something back. The pieces fell into place. Karen wasn't just having an affair. This was personal, and I wasn't going to let it slide. Revenge? Oh, it was coming, and it was going to be spectacular. That night, after meeting with John, I barely slept. My mind was racing through every possibility, every angle. I couldn't just confront her, not yet. Karen had played her game for months, maybe even years, without so much as breaking a sweat. If I wanted to take her down, I couldn't make a single misstep. The next morning, everything clicked. I'd been going about this the wrong way. I had been thinking about the affair as just an emotional betrayal. But this This was a calculated, deliberate move targeted even. It wasn't just lust or boredom that drove her into the arms of that man. There was a deeper motive. Karen wasn't stupid, and neither was I. I knew I had to be careful. If she smelled blood in the water, she'd get defensive. Lie her way out like she always did. No, I needed her to keep thinking she was winning. I spent the weekend studying John's report, going over every detail. The man, let's call him Ryan, had been lurking in the shadows of my life for years, apparently nursing a grudge after that failed business deal. I'd forgotten about him, moved on, never gave him another thought. But clearly, he'd been keeping tabs on me. Somehow, he'd wormed his way into Karen's life, convinced her to play along. Whether it started as a real attraction or just part of some twisted vendetta, I didn't care anymore. What mattered was that she had betrayed me not just as a husband, but as a partner, as someone I trusted to have my back. I couldn't just walk away from that. No, I had something far more elaborate in mind. On Monday morning, while Karen was out for one of her supposed yoga classes, a nice cover for her little rendezvous, no doubt, I made a few calls. The first was to my lawyer. I needed to get my assets in order, but not in the way she might expect. You see, what Karen didn't know was that over the past 2 years, the business had exploded in value. I was worth close to $10 million now, but I'd kept that information close to the chest. We lived comfortably, sure, but I hadn't flaunted the real numbers. I had always believed in protecting our future. Turns out I was right to keep my cards hidden. My lawyer and I had an agreement in place by the afternoon. Karen had no legal claim to the business. Everything had been arranged before we got married. She couldn't touch it if she tried, but she didn't even know how much there was to reach for. I intended to keep it that way. Next, I called John and told him to keep following Ryan. I wanted to know everything. His job, his finances, his routines, what his life looked like behind the scenes. If this guy thought he was clever, he was about to find out what real strategy looked like. For the rest of the week, I played my role perfectly. I went to work, smiled when I got home, and let Karen go about her business like nothing had changed. But in the background, I was tightening the screws. I knew where she went, who she saw, and how long she stayed with him. I knew Ryan's every move, down to when he stopped for gas and what time he walked his dog. By Friday, I was ready. Karen had her usual Thursday girls' night out planned. This time, however, I didn't just wait for her to come home. I had John keep a closer eye on Ryan. And sure enough, at around 9 p.m., Karen's car pulled up to that same hotel across town. It was always the same. She'd park out of sight, slip inside, and spend a few hours with him before coming home, all smiles. But tonight, she wasn't just coming home to an oblivious husband. Tonight was the beginning of the end. I waited until midnight, until she was back in our bed, pretending nothing had happened, before I made my first move. The next morning, Karen woke up to the sound of her phone buzzing incessantly. I was already up, sipping coffee in the kitchen, waiting for her to check the messages. As she groggily reached for the phone, I watched her face carefully. The messages were from Ryan, but they weren't the kind of text she was used to. "Karen, we have a problem," one read. "Call me ASAP." Another popped up. "You need to talk to your husband. He's on to something. Things are getting complicated." Her eyes widened, and I could see the panic begin to set in. She sat up quickly, throwing the covers off, staring at her phone like it had just exploded in her hands. She thought she had everything under control, but that grip she had on her perfect little double life was slipping. Fast. I walked into the bedroom, holding my coffee, and leaned against the doorframe. I could see the wheels turning in her head, her mind scrambling to figure out how to fix this. She looked up at me, forcing a smile. One of those fake, tight-lipped ones that screamed I'm hiding something. "Morning," she said, her voice too cheerful. "What's the plan for today?" I raised an eyebrow, pretending not to notice the phone clutched tightly in her hand. "I thought we'd do something different today. You know, take a drive. Maybe stop by some old spots we haven't visited in a while." I smiled, taking a sip of my coffee. "What do you think?" Karen's eyes flickered with confusion, but she nodded quickly, still glancing at her phone as though Ryan's messages would vanish if she looked away long enough. "Sure, sounds good. Let me just freshen up." She practically bolted to the bathroom, her phone glued to her palm, probably trying to figure out how to respond to Ryan without tipping me off. Little did she know, I had already tipped him off. You see, the night before, I'd had a little chat with Ryan myself. Nothing aggressive, nothing out of line. Just enough to make him realize that I knew. Enough to make him nervous, to send him spiraling. It worked. Karen emerged from the bathroom 10 minutes later, looking a little more composed, but I could see the cracks starting to show. She thought she was still in control, that she could fix whatever was going wrong, but she had no idea how deep she was already in. As we drove out of town, I casually mentioned that I'd been thinking about our future, our financial future. Karen immediately perked up, her attention shifting from her phone to me. I could see her interest peaking. She didn't know about the $10 million, but the moment I started talking about money, she was hooked. What do you mean? She asked, trying to sound innocent. I've been thinking, I said, keeping my tone light. We've worked hard for years. It might be time to start planning what comes next. Retirement, traveling, maybe some new investments. Karen smiled, but there was something calculating in her eyes. She didn't know how much I had, but soon she was going to think she knew. And that's when the real fun would begin. Karen had always been good at hiding her intentions, but when it came to money, she couldn't mask her excitement. As soon as I mentioned our financial future, I saw her eyes light up in a way I hadn't seen in years. That's when I knew she was hooked. I could feel the shift in her demeanor, the way she leaned in, asking just the right questions, testing the waters without seeming too eager. She didn't know what was coming, but she was already falling into the trap. As we drove along the coast, I kept talking, feeding her just enough information to reel her in. I told her that the business had been doing pretty well, that I'd been making some smart investments, and that there was a lot of potential for growth. She played her part perfectly, feigning mild curiosity while trying not to show how desperate she was to know the real numbers. I'm glad to hear things are going well, she said, her voice sweet, but her eyes betraying her. I've been thinking about our future too, you know? We've been working so hard. It would be nice to enjoy the fruits of it. Don't you think? Fruit. I had to hold back a laugh. She had no idea. Exactly, I replied, nodding. I think we're at a point where we can really start thinking about what's next. In fact, I've been looking into a few properties out of state. Something a little more remote. Maybe even a vacation home. You'd like that, wouldn't you? Her reaction was immediate. A vacation home? She repeated, trying to sound casual but failing to hide her interest. That sounds amazing. Where were you thinking? Somewhere peaceful, I said, glancing at her to see how far I could push it. Maybe in the mountains, a quiet place where we could just get away from it all.
No distractions.
No one to bother us. Her smile faltered for a split second, but she quickly recovered. I could almost see her calculating the implications, wondering if I was dropping hints about her affair. But she played along like the seasoned actress she was. That sounds perfect, she said, her voice a little too bright. You know, after all these years, we deserve something like that. I've always wanted a place to escape to. Escape. She had no idea how fitting that word was. The entire time, I kept thinking about Ryan. How he was probably freaking out after my subtle messages, scrambling to figure out what I knew and what Karen hadn't told him. I wanted him nervous. I wanted him to slip up, just like she would. And soon enough, they'd both be in way over their heads. By the time we got back home, Karen was buzzing with fake excitement. She was already asking about the properties I'd been looking at, throwing out ideas for decorating, talking about our future, as if the last few months hadn't been a total lie. But I played along, giving her just enough to keep her interested, all while pretending like nothing was wrong. I had a feeling she'd run straight to Ryan the first chance she got. She'd have to let him know about the money, about the vacation home, about how things were going better than they could have imagined. That's exactly what I wanted. I knew that the moment Ryan heard the word vacation home, his little grudge-fueled brain would start spinning. He'd think he was winning, that he'd successfully infiltrated my life and convinced Karen to leave me for him, with a chunk of my fortune in tow. And I was counting on it. Later that night, while Karen was in the shower, more likely texting Ryan under the guise of her self-care routine, I sat down and put the final piece of my plan in motion. First, I contacted my lawyer again, making sure all the assets were safely locked away, completely untouchable no matter what Karen tried to do. The money? Hidden. The business? Ironclad. She wasn't getting a single penny, but I wanted her to think there was a fortune just waiting for her, dangling right in front of her greedy hands. I had to make sure the bait was irresistible. Then I called John. "I need you to start keeping an eye on Karen's accounts," I told him. "Specifically, any big transactions. If she's planning to make a move, she'll start moving money around soon. And when she does, I want to know." John agreed. "I'll keep my eyes peeled. Shouldn't take long if she's planning something." I hung up, feeling a grim satisfaction settle in my chest. The wheels were turning, and Karen had no clue that she was walking straight into a trap. The idea of her plotting with Ryan behind my back, thinking she was going to walk away with half my life, made the irony even sweeter. Over the next few days, I watched Karen more closely than ever. She was careful, texting only when she thought I wasn't looking, keeping her phone face down on the counter, leaving the room to take calls. She'd smile at me across the table, that same fake warmth in her eyes, and I'd smile back, playing my part as the oblivious, loving husband. Then came Thursday. Karen slipped out of the house like usual, wearing one of her girls' night out outfits. A little too fancy for just dinner with friends, but I didn't say anything. I just kissed her goodbye, told her to have fun, and waited for her to leave. As soon as the door closed behind her, I grabbed my keys and followed. This time, I didn't need John's help. I wanted to see it for myself. I trailed her from a distance, watching as she drove across town, completely unaware that I was right behind her. My heart was pounding, but not from anger. Not yet. This was strategy. Every step of the way, I was in control. She pulled into the same hotel as always, her routine never changing. It was almost insulting how little she bothered to cover her tracks, thinking I was too clueless to catch on. I parked a block away, close enough to see but far enough not to be noticed. Sure enough, Ryan showed up minutes later. He walked into the hotel with the same smug confidence I imagined he had when he stole my business deal years ago. But tonight, he wasn't the one in control. I waited for what felt like hours, though it was probably closer to 30 minutes. Then, just as I expected, Karen came back out. Alone. I didn't follow her this time. I knew where she was headed. But Ryan, he wasn't going anywhere yet. I pulled my car around to the front of the hotel, parked, and walked inside. The receptionist glanced up at me as I entered, but I ignored her. I already knew where he was, thanks to John's careful work. Room 312. I took the elevator up, my heart pounding, but I wasn't nervous. This wasn't rage or impulse driving me. It was pure, cold calculation. The door to room 312 stood in front of me like an invitation. I raised my hand, knocked once, twice, then waited. The door opened a crack, and Ryan stood there, confusion flashing across his face. He didn't recognize me immediately, but then it hit him. The color drained from his face. "Evening, Ryan," I said calmly, my voice steady. "We need to talk." Ryan stood there, frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. It was the first time we'd come face to face since all of this began, and I could see the panic slowly settling in as he realized who I was. He swallowed, gripping the door handle a little tighter. Can I help you?" His voice wavered, not as confident as the man who had been sneaking around behind my back for months. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Help me? Not quite. But I think it's time you and I had a conversation. Don't you?" Ryan hesitated, his eyes flickering down the hallway as if he was planning to make a run for it. But he knew better. There was nowhere for him to go. "Look, I don't want any trouble," he said, his voice tight. "If this is about..." "Oh, this is absolutely about Karen." I cut him off, stepping forward so he had no choice but to let me in or make a scene. He stepped back, opening the door wider, clearly unsure of what was about to happen. The room was small and smelled like cheap cologne and stale air conditioning. The bed was still unmade, and Karen's purse sat casually on the nightstand. It made my stomach turn, but I pushed it down. This wasn't the time to get emotional. This was business. Ryan closed the door behind me, awkwardly shuffling his feet. "Look, man, I didn't know. I didn't plan for this to happen. It just did." I raised an eyebrow at him. "Didn't plan for it? That's interesting, considering you've been meeting my wife in secret for months. That seems pretty planned to me, Ryan. Or am I missing something?" He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. He knew he was screwed, and now he was scrambling for an exit that didn't exist. I could see him calculating his next move, the same way he probably did when he tried to steal that deal from me years ago. But this time, he wasn't the one in control. I sat down in one of the cheap hotel chairs, making myself comfortable while he stood there, awkward and restless. "Here's the thing, Ryan," I said, keeping my tone calm but firm. "You made a mistake, a big one, and now you've got a problem. Because I know everything." He flinched at the word everything, his eyes darting to the door again, like he was trying to figure out how far he'd have to run to escape. But I wasn't done yet, not even close. "You thought this was just about an affair, didn't you? That you could sweep in, get Karen on your side, and walk away with the spoils. What was your plan? Convince her to leave me, then help her claim half of what I've built? Were you hoping to get a nice payout from my fortune?" Ryan blinked, clearly caught off guard that I knew so much. He stammered, I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't about that. Karen said you guys were done. She said you didn't care anymore." I chuckled darkly, shaking my head. "Karen said a lot of things, didn't she? But let me fill you in on something important. You see, Karen has no idea how much I'm actually worth. You thought you were playing me, but the truth is, I've been watching both of you. And here's the kicker. She's not getting a dime." Ryan's face turned pale. I could see the gears turning in his head, trying to piece together how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. I leaned in slightly, my voice low but sharp. "You tried to outsmart me, but you didn't even have the full picture. Karen's not entitled to my business. It's ironclad, locked down. She can try to take whatever she wants, but the $10 million she's dreaming of, she'll never see it. And neither will you." Ryan swallowed hard, his confidence evaporating by the second. "Look, man, Karen didn't tell me anything about the money. I didn't even know." I cut him off again, standing up this time, making sure I towered over him. "I don't care what she told you. What matters now is how this ends. You thought you could slip into my life, take what wasn't yours, and walk away clean. But here's the thing, you're not walking away from this." Ryan's eyes widened, and he took a step back, bumping into the nightstand behind him. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice small now, no trace of the arrogance he'd probably had when he first met Karen. I let the silence hang in the air for a moment before I spoke again, my voice cold and calculated. "What I want is for you to disappear. Walk away. Leave Karen in the mess she's made, and don't look back. You've already lost. The best thing you can do for yourself is cut your losses and get out before things get worse." Ryan's mouth opened and closed, as if he was trying to find words but couldn't manage to string them together. He looked like a man who'd just been told his life was over, which in many ways it was. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued, stepping even closer. "You're going to end whatever this is with Karen. No more meetings, no more secret texts, nothing. You're going to tell her it's over, and you're going to disappear from both of our lives. If I see you again, if you even think about coming near her or me, I will ruin you. Financially, professionally, personally. You've already lost once. Don't make me do it again." Ryan stared at me, his face a mixture of fear and disbelief. He nodded slowly, as if his body was responding before his brain could catch up. "Okay," he muttered. I'll end it. I'll walk away." I smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Good, because if you don't, trust me when I say that the next time we meet, it won't just be a conversation." With that, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving Ryan standing there in stunned silence. The door clicked shut behind me, and I felt a surge of satisfaction rise in my chest. He was done, shaken to the core and fully aware of the position he'd put himself in. But Karen, she was next. I wasn't finished yet. Ryan was only the beginning. When I got back into my car, I sat there for a moment, thinking about how to proceed with Karen. I had all the evidence I needed, but I wanted to wait for the perfect moment to confront her. Not in some cheap hotel, not in the middle of some emotional breakdown. No, I wanted her to feel the full weight of her decisions. And when that moment came, I'd be ready. This was the calm before the storm, the final quiet before everything in her life came crashing down. The next few days felt like walking through a minefield, but I was in control. I moved carefully, watching Karen closely, waiting for her to make the next move. I knew she'd be rattled after Ryan told her it was over, and I was eager to see how she'd react. The beauty of it was, she didn't know I had orchestrated the whole thing. She thought the walls were closing in on her for some other reason. By Wednesday, her behavior started to shift. She was jumpy, more cautious. When she thought I wasn't looking, she'd glance at her phone. But there were no longer those long, secretive texting sessions. She wasn't slipping out of the room to make hushed phone calls like before. Something had definitely changed. But she wasn't ready to crack. Not yet. That evening, as we sat at the dinner table, I noticed she was unusually quiet. Her eyes were distant, and her usual small talk was missing. She was thinking, no scheming, trying to figure out how to salvage whatever mess she had gotten herself into. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my tone light, my fork hovering over the plate. I wanted to see how far she'd go to keep up the act. She looked up, startled, as if I had interrupted some deep, internal monologue. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind lately," she said, forcing a smile that barely reached her eyes. "Work's been stressful." Work, that was rich. She hadn't mentioned work being stressful in months, maybe even years. But I let it slide. I nodded, pretending to care, while she fiddled with her food, clearly too distracted to eat. Later that night, I sat on the couch, casually flipping through the channels, waiting for her to make her move. She wandered around the house, restless, as if trying to decide whether to come clean or hold onto the lie a little longer. Finally, she sat down next to me, the air between us thick with tension. "I've been thinking," she started, her voice softer than usual, "about us, about the future." Here it was, the setup. I didn't respond right away, letting her sit in the silence for a moment longer before I turned to her, pretending to be curious. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, and I could almost see the gears turning in her head as she carefully chose her words. I feel like we've been growing apart lately. You've been so focused on work, and I've been, well, trying to figure things out." Trying to figure things out? That's one way to put it. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, but I kept my expression neutral, letting her dig herself deeper. "I don't know, maybe we've just been so busy, so distracted by everything else, that we haven't really focused on us," she continued, wringing her hands together like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. "I was thinking maybe we should take a break, to clear our heads, figure out what we really want." The audacity of it almost made me laugh. She was trying to turn the whole thing on me, as if her affair wasn't the root of this. As if we needed a break because I'd been distracted by work. Not because she'd been sneaking around behind my back. But I wasn't going to bite. Not yet. "A break?" I asked, raising an eyebrow, playing along. "What kind of break are you thinking about?" Her face softened, relieved that I hadn't pushed back. She must have thought I was buying into her story. "Just some time apart. You could focus on work and I could, figure things out for myself. I think it might help us both get some clarity." I leaned back, pretending to consider it. "So, a separation?" She flinched at the word, like she hadn't meant to go that far. No, not a separation. Just some time to clear our heads, that's all. I think it could be good for us." I nodded slowly, my mind already racing with how to use this against her. She thought she could control the narrative, but she was playing right into my hands. I decided to push her a little further. "Maybe you're right," I said thoughtfully. "Some time apart might be good. I've been working a lot, and if you need space, I don't want to stand in your way." Her eyes widened slightly, probably not expecting me to agree so easily, but she masked her surprise with a weak smile. "Yeah, I think it'll give us both some perspective." I stood up, walking to the window and staring out at the darkened street. I let the silence hang for a few seconds longer, building the tension. I began, turning back to her. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you too." Karen's eyes snapped to mine, her body tensing. She wasn't ready for this. I walked back to the couch, slowly, deliberately, keeping my tone calm. "You remember how we talked about our financial future a few weeks ago? Well, I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about how much I've worked for, and how important it is to protect what's mine. Just in case something unexpected happens." Her face paled slightly, her hands clenching in her lap. She had no idea where this was going, but she could feel it. Something was coming. I leaned in, my voice low but steady. "You see, Karen, I've been very careful with our finances. Everything we have is protected. The business, the assets, everything. And I made sure that nothing can touch it. Not even if you decided to leave. I watched her face as the realization started to dawn on her. She tried to keep her composure, but I could see the panic rising behind her eyes. What are you saying? She asked, her voice shaky. I'm saying that no matter what happens, Karen, you're not getting anything. The house?
Mine.
The business?
Mine.
All the money you thought you'd walk away with. I smiled, but it was cold. It's mine. You've been playing a dangerous game, and you've already lost. Her mouth opened, then closed again, as if she couldn't find the words. For the first time, I saw the mask crack. The perfect, composed Karen was gone, and in her place was a woman scrambling to understand how everything had fallen apart so quickly. You knew, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Oh, I knew, I said, standing up again, towering over her. I've known for weeks. The late nights, the secret texts, the hotel visits. I know all of it, and so does Ryan. At the mention of his name, her face twisted in shock. Ryan. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I paid him a visit. He's done, Karen. He walked away, just like you're about to. Tears welled up in her eyes, and for a moment, I thought she might actually try to apologize, try to claw her way back. But then, in a split second, her expression shifted, hardening into something I hadn't seen before. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to grovel. No, she was going to fight back. You think you can just do this to me? She hissed, standing up and glaring at me with venom in her voice. You think you can just throw me out after everything we've been through? After all the years I've put into this marriage? I laughed bitterly. What marriage? The one you've been lying your way through for months? Don't act like a victim, Karen. You made your choice. She took a step closer, her eyes burning with rage. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take you for everything you've got. You can't just cut me out like this. I'll ruin you.
I sterte her, unblinking.
You've already lost. The lawyers won't save you. Everything is locked down. You won't even see a fraction of what you think you deserve. You ruined yourself the moment you decided to betray me. The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment we just stood there, staring at each other. Two people who once built a life together, now on the verge of tearing it apart. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet but filled with malice. You'll regret this. I shook my head, my voice calm and firm.
No, Karen.
You will. The next morning, Karen was gone. She'd packed a small bag, left a note on the counter short, to the point, no apologies, just pure venom. You're going to regret this. This isn't over. I smiled to myself. The fight was exactly what I expected. Karen wasn't the kind to slink away quietly. She was a strategist just like me. But she didn't realize that I had already dismantled her entire plan while she was still trying to figure out where the pieces went. I took the note, crumpled it in my fist, and tossed it into the trash. Let her try. She could go ahead and threaten all she wanted. She didn't understand the game was already over. She'd lost. But knowing her, she'd keep fighting until the bitter end, convinced that there was still a way to win. Over the next few days, things moved quickly. My lawyer finalized the paperwork, ensuring that everything I had built remained locked down tight. Karen could hire the best attorney in the state, but it wouldn't matter. There were no loopholes, no weak points for her to exploit. She could try to take me for everything, but all she'd find was a locked safe with no combination. Meanwhile, John kept an eye on Karen. She wasn't hiding. In fact, she made it easy. She moved in with a friend, Linda, one of her longtime socialite buddies who seemed more than happy to give her a place to stay while she figured things out. John confirmed that Linda's place was where Karen was holed up, probably regrouping, trying to come up with her next move. What she didn't realize was that I already had my next move planned. The day after she left, I took a drive across town. It was a quiet drive, the kind of trip you take when you're thinking about everything but the road. I arrived at the lawyer's office a little before noon. I hadn't needed to come in person, but there was something satisfying about being there, about watching the last few details come together in real time. When I stepped into the conference room, my lawyer, Davis, greeted me with a firm handshake. Everything's in place, he said, his expression professional but with a hint of satisfaction. He had been with me from the beginning, back when my business was just a fledgling idea, And now, he was seeing the final chapter of Karen's influence unfold. Good, I replied, sitting down across from him. Let's make it airtight. Davis pushed a stack of papers across the table. Already done. The business is fully secured. She can contest it, but it won't go anywhere. As for the house, if she wants to fight for it, she'll have a hell of a time. The equity is in your name, and since you've already moved most of your liquid assets out of joint accounts, there's nothing left for her to take. I glanced at the paperwork, skimming through the key points. Everything was exactly as it should be. Karen had no claim. She could scream, cry, or try to rally an army of lawyers. But in the end, she'd walk away with nothing but a few personal items and the bitter taste of defeat. She's going to go ballistic, I said, leaning back in my chair. Davis nodded, a small smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. Let her. The more noise she makes, the more she exposes herself. Legally speaking, she doesn't have a leg to stand on. It was done. The final nail in the coffin of what was once our life together. There was no turning back now. When I got home that evening, the house felt different. Not empty, exactly, but quiet in a way that was unsettling. Karen's presence, her energy, it had all been stripped away. I sat in the living room, staring at the walls, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket. Part of me felt relief, freedom even, but another part felt something darker, something more complex. This wasn't how I'd ever imagined my life would turn out. After 25 years of marriage, I wasn't just losing a wife. I was losing a partner, a co-conspirator, someone who had once been in step with me. And now that person had become my enemy. But I couldn't dwell on that. This was the life I'd chosen now. Karen had made her choices and I'd made mine. It was time to move on. The next morning, things started to unravel for her faster than I expected. It began with a phone call. I was sipping my morning coffee when my phone buzzed. It was John. His voice was urgent, but not panicked. I've been keeping tabs on Karen, like you asked, he said. And something interesting just came up. You're not going to believe this. Go on, I said, already intrigued. She's been trying to reach Ryan, John continued, but he's not responding. In fact, he seems to have vanished. I did some digging, and it turns out Ryan's been in more financial trouble than we realized. He skipped town, probably ran out of cash, maybe hiding from some creditors. Either way, he's left Karen high and dry. I couldn't help but laugh. The poetic justice was too perfect. Karen's supposed knight in shining armor had bolted the moment things got difficult. She thought she had an escape route, a backup plan, but instead, she was stranded, all alone. Serves her right, I said, setting down my coffee. Let her see what it feels like to be abandoned. But John wasn't done. There's more. I don't know how, but Linda, Karen's friend, is in on it too. She's been pushing Karen to file for divorce. But it seems like they were both banking on Ryan helping them out financially. With him gone, their plan is falling apart. They're scrambling. I leaned back in my chair, a slow grin spreading across my face. This was better than I could have imagined. Karen was losing control, and the people she thought would support her were turning out to be just as unreliable as she was. I hung up the phone and sat there for a moment, letting it all sink in. The satisfaction of watching her life crumble was real, but so was the finality of it. Karen had chosen this path, and now she was paying the price. I'd taken everything she thought she could count on, and in return, she was left with nothing but the wreckage of her own decisions. 2 days later, I got the call I'd been waiting for. It was Karen. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice strained, barely holding it together. I didn't reply right away. I let the silence stretch between us, letting her feel the weight of what she was asking. Then finally I spoke. "Sure," I said, my voice calm, steady, "but I'm not sure there's much left to say." We agreed to meet at the house. She didn't have many options left, and she knew it. When she arrived, I was already waiting in the living room, a glass of whiskey in my hand. She walked in, looking tired, worn down. Nothing like the confident, manipulative woman I'd confronted weeks ago. Now she was desperate. She sat down across from me, her eyes searching mine for something, anything, that would give her an advantage. But there was nothing left for her to find. "I've made mistakes," she started, her voice trembling. "I know that, but you can't just leave me with nothing." After everything we've been through. Everything we've been through? I repeated, leaning forward, my voice sharp. Karen, the moment you decided to betray me, you lost any claim to the life we built together. I've protected what's mine, and you're not getting a single piece of it. Her face twisted with frustration. I loved you, she said, her voice breaking, but you shut me out. You made me feel invisible. I shook my head, staring her down. Don't blame me for your choices. You could have talked to me. You could have fought for us. But instead, you lied. You cheated. And you did it for months without a second thought. You don't get to play the victim now. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't moved. The tears weren't for me. They were for herself. For the life she thought she could still salvage. What do you want from me? She whispered, her voice small, defeated. I stood up, towering over her. I don't want anything from you, Karen. I've already got what I want. You're out of my life and I'm keeping everything I've worked for. You've lost. She looked up at me, her face a mixture of anger and sorrow. But she knew it was over. There was nothing left for her here. No more cards to play, no more lies to spin. She stood up, wiping her eyes, and without another word, she walked out of the house for the last time. I watched her go, feeling nothing but a cold satisfaction. The woman who had once been my wife was now a stranger, leaving behind nothing but the wreckage of her own choices. And just like that, she was gone. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and just like that, 25 years of marriage ended in silence. The house, once filled with her presence, felt bigger now, emptier but in a good way. There was no more pretending, no more lies hanging in the air. I was free and so was she, though I had a feeling her version of freedom would feel more like a cage once reality fully set in. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at the door. The weight of everything we had been through over the past few months settled in, but instead of sadness, I felt something else entirely: relief. The storm had passed. I had survived. More than that, I had won. The Karen who walked out of that door wasn't the same woman I had once built a life with, and that was fine by me. But I wasn't quite done yet. There was still one more card to play. One final move that would ensure Karen never forgot the price of her betrayal. The following morning, I made my last visit to my lawyer's office. This time, I wasn't finalizing assets or securing my financial future. This was personal. When I arrived, Davis greeted me with his usual cool professionalism, though I could tell he was curious as to why I had called this last-minute meeting. We sat in his office, the sun streaming through the large windows, and I explained the final part of my plan. I want to give her something, I said, leaning back in my chair. Not money. Nothing she can use to crawl out of the mess she's made. I want to give her a lesson. Davis raised an eyebrow. A lesson? I nodded, smiling faintly. Exactly. She's still convinced she can manipulate her way out of this. That somehow, she can recover and come out on top. I want to make sure she understands, fully, just how deep she's sunk. Davis listened carefully as I outlined the details.